Welcome, listeners. I'm Silas, your sleepy storyteller, pulling you down the rabbit hole of time, where dreams and memories intertwine. If you enjoy these videos, please tap the like button. It really helps. Also, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can keep drifting along on your sleepy journey through history. And before we wander down the rabbit hole, share your city and time in the comments. I love imagining our journey threading through every ticking clock. Now, take a moment to find a comfortable resting position. Close your eyes gently, and in your own time, allow yourself to sink into the quiet atmosphere of the past as we begin our slow journey together. The stagecoach rattles beneath me, its wheels clattering over the uneven desert road, each jolt sending a shiver through the wooden frame. The afternoon sun hangs low, spilling long shadows over the land, while dust trails behind us like a ghostly banner marking our passage. This journey, from Bisbee to Tombstone, stretches a mere 3 hours on paper, but out here, in the wide and restless Arizona territory, every mile is a reminder that civilization is fragile and the wilderness still holds dominion. The driver, a lean man with a weathered face and a brimmed hat pulled low, flicks the reins sharply. The horses surge forward, muscles rippling, their hooves striking a steady rhythm that echoes against the stone and clay. Their breaths plume in small bursts, carrying the earthy scent of sweat and leather. To the left, the Mule Mountains rise in jagged silhouettes, their peaks catching the fading sun and glowing like embers against the deepening sky. To the right, the desert stretches endlessly, dotted with mesquite and creosote, with the occasional skeleton of a saguaro cactus standing like a sentinel, its arms twisted toward heaven. A hawk wheels overhead, its cry cutting through the rattle of wheels and the groan of leather harness. The air is dry, metallic, and sharp with dust, laced faintly with the scent of sage crushed under hooves and wheels. Inside the coach, the air is close, thick with the mingled smells of travel. Dusty coats, leather satchels, faint sweat, and the perfume of the woman seated across from me. She clutches a basket of cloth tightly in her lap, bound for her sister's mercantile shop in Tombstone. Beside her sits a broad-shouldered man with boots scuffed by hard travel. His eyes remain fixed on the horizon, his jaw set, as if he measures each mile between himself and town. I settle back against the worn cushion, feeling the vibration of the wheels in my bones. For the first hour, I let the rhythm lull me into thought. Silver is the heartbeat of Tombstone, I remind myself. It has drawn men from every corner, miners, gamblers, outlaws, and lawmen. In its glow, fortunes rise and collapse like desert storms. The town is still young, restless, not yet sure whether it belongs to law or to chaos. The second hour brings a shift. The driver stiffens slightly, his back straightening, his hands tight on the reins. The horses toss their heads, uneasy, their ears twitch, nostrils flaring. At first, I think it's nothing but the skittishness of animals, sensitive to scents and sounds we cannot hear. But then I catch it too, the faint thunder of hooves approaching from behind. The sound grows, fast, insistent. Before I can speak, Three riders appear over a low ridge, their figures dark against the sinking sun. Dust swirls around their horses as they descend, bandanas covering their faces, wide hats pulled low. Their rifles gleam faintly in the orange light. "Whoa!" the driver shouts, yanking hard on the reins. The stagecoach lurches, groans, and shudders to a halt. The riders fan out quickly, practiced in their movements. One stays astride his horse, rifle leveled at the driver. Another dismounts, boots crunching against the gravel, his revolver steady in his hand. The third circles wide, keeping his distance, eyes sharp for any foolish attempt at resistance. "Out! Everyone out!" comes the command, rough and flat, leaving no room for debate. We obey. No one argues. No one resists. The stories are too well known. Cooperate, and you live. Resist, and you risk a noose at best, a bullet at worst. One by one, we step down, boots sinking into the soft dust. The air is heavy with silence, broken only by the restless snort of horses and the creak of leather. The leader, tall and lean, strides toward us. A red bandana covers his lower face, but his eyes, hard, cold, speak clearly enough. He extends a gloved hand. "Valuables!" Now, the woman trembles as she surrenders a small ring, sliding it off her finger reluctantly. The broad-shouldered man produces a flask, silver, catching the last rays of daylight. My hand goes to my vest pocket. I carry little of worth, save for a silver pocket watch, its chain polished by years of use. My father's gift. My fingers linger on it for a moment longer than they should. Then, with a breath, I let it go, placing it gently into the outlaw's palm. He weighs it briefly, nods once, and slips it into his coat. The driver climbs down last, carrying the heavy strongbox. His face is pale, jaw clenched, but his hands do not tremble. He passes the box over without a word. Then come the mailbags, canvas sacks swollen with letters and goods meant for Tombstone. The outlaw swings them easily onto his saddle. It is over quickly, businesslike. No shots fired. No harsh words beyond what was needed. The leader tips his hat mockingly, eyes gleaming. Much obliged. With that, they mount, spurring their horses hard. In moments, they vanish into the desert's expanse, swallowed by shadow and dust. We stand frozen in the aftermath. Dust drifts lazily in their wake, settling slowly over us like ash. The woman clutches her basket again, though it feels emptier now. The broad-shouldered man mutters something low, inaudible, his eyes still fixed on the horizon. I feel the emptiness in my pocket where the watch once rested, a small hollow that seems larger than it should. The driver spits into the dirt, mutters, "Devil's luck," then climbs stiffly back onto his perch. His voice is rough but steady. "Well, they didn't shoot us. Count your blessings." Back aboard. We climb in silence. The wheels groan forward once again, and the coach resumes its slow journey toward Tombstone. As the desert slips by, my thoughts drift to the broader picture. Robbery on these roads is no surprise, almost a fixture of life in Cochise County. March 15th, 1881, the Kinnear and Company stage ambushed not far from here. That time, the bandits had been less merciful. The driver and a passenger fell dead, bullets tearing through the dust and silence. Fear spread like wildfire, suspicion falling squarely on the cowboys, a loose gang of rustlers, smugglers, and thieves who haunt these hills. September 8th, 1881. Another attempt, this time against the Sandy Bob line bound for Bisbee. Shots fired, though lives spared. Again, the cowboys were blamed, and again, anger simmered in Tombstone. Each robbery wound the town tighter, each crime another step toward the inevitable clash between law and outlaw. Here, life is cheap. Silver draws greed as surely as blood draws flies. And every mile closer to Tombstone feels like a mile deeper into the heart of tension. At last, the stage crests the ridge, and Tombstone spreads out before us, its lanterns flickering like scattered embers against the darkening desert. The streets hum with restless energy. Horses tied to hitching posts stomp impatiently. Gamblers spill from saloons with the tang of whiskey on their breath. And the sharp clang of hammers rings out from half-built structures clawing their way skyward. A boom town in full fever, equal parts ambition and anarchy. The coach jerks to a halt on Fremont Street, before the skeletal outline of the courthouse. Its timber beams stretch upward, pale against the night, scaffolding groaning under the weight of construction not yet complete. Lanterns hang from half-finished posts, casting narrow cones of light across the dirt street. The scent of cut pine drifts through the air, mingling with dust and sweat. The courthouse is raw wood and nails, but it is also more than that. It is intent. It is the embodiment of Tombstone's yearning to outgrow its lawless infancy. Here, in the rising skeleton of a building, the town dares to say, law will take root even in the desert. Yet, as I stand gazing at its unfinished frame, I feel the question press upon me. Can these beams bear the weight of a silver town teetering between justice and bloodshed? Across the street, Schieffelin Hall glows warm and golden, its lantern spilling honeyed light into the night. From within comes the sawing of a fiddle, boots stomping to rhythm, and voices raised in laughter. It is a hall of joy, built for dances, plays, and gatherings, a sanctuary where miners and their wives trade the grime of the earth for a few hours of music. If the courthouse represents the stern hand of order, Schieffelin Hall represents the beating heart of escape, pleasure, and release. And here I stand, between the two. On one side, the promise of law. On the other, the temptation of leisure. Order and revelry, duty and joy, both necessary, yet forever in tension. Tombstone itself seems torn between these poles, its seams strained nearly to breaking. A boy dashes from the hall, nearly colliding with me, a bucket of water sloshing over the dust. He stumbles, rights himself, and disappears again into the crowd. The brief collision feels like an omen, the fragile innocence of youth threading between the weight of law and the lure of abandon. The courthouse looms as unfinished promise. Schieffelin Hall hums as the town's living pulse, and I, caught between them, see Tombstone for what it truly is. A city straining to balance justice and survival, silver and sin, always one heartbeat away from violence. Fremont Street is alive tonight. Alive in that peculiar way only a boomtown can be. where ambition burns like lantern oil and menace waits in every shadow. Dust swirls beneath wagon wheels and boot heels, catching the glow of gas lamps in drifting halos. The courthouse skeleton stands behind me still, the idea of law straining to be born. Ahead, the Crystal Palace gleams like a jewel set in brass, promising civility. But just down the street, the Birdcage Theater squats like a cavern of vice, its red glow an invitation to sin and spectacle. These two houses face one another across the street, as if daring the town to choose order or chaos, refinement or indulgence. Tonight, I will pass through both. The saloon doors swing wide, and I step into the Crystal Palace. Inside, it feels less like Arizona and more like some ambitious theater stage. Walls mirrored to double the sparkle of chandeliers, a polished oak bar stretching like a river of liquor, and glass, beveled, glittering, catching the lamplight at every angle. Gas jets hiss faintly, throwing their brilliance onto brass fixtures buffed to blinding shine. The room pulses with energy. At the gaming tables, silver dollars clatter, dice tumble, and cards snap like small thunderclaps. Miners, their faces streaked with sweat and ore dust, lean forward with desperate intensity, wagering fortunes that might vanish with the next turn. Cowboys swagger in, their spurs biting into the floorboards, staking drinks on poker hands. Merchants in crisp collars sip whiskey beside drifters in dust-caked coats. Everyone is here because in Tombstone, the Crystal Palace is not just a saloon. It is the theater of ambition, a place where silver strikes are celebrated, reputations made and lost. Near the far wall, I see them. 4 young men, tenderfeet, fresh from New York. Their suits still carry the stiffness of an Eastern tailor. Their boots too new, their faces untested. They cluster over a map of Tombstone, tracing possibilities with hopeful fingers. Their voices are eager, their talk of investment and opportunity as bright as their polished cufflinks. They are here for business, for silver, for a taste of the frontier's promise. But promise does not walk unchallenged here. The bat-wing doors burst open with a crack like a whip, and 6 men stride in. Cowboys, Cochise County's scourge, the gang whose shadow lies heavy over these streets. They move as a pack, broad-brimmed hats pulled low, dust ground into every seam of their coats, spurs jangling a rhythm that silences the piano mid-song. Revolvers ride low on their hips, handles glinting with casual threat. They do not need to draw. The town already knows their reputation. Cattle rustlers, smugglers, thieves, and killers when it suited them. Their leader tonight is a bull-shouldered man with a red bandana slung loose around his neck. He plants a heavy boot beneath the chair of one tenderfoot and drags it several inches across the floor. The boy jolts upright, map crumpling in his fist. Laughter erupts from the cowboys, jagged and mean. "Road runs wrong there," the leader drawls, tapping the boy's map with a grimy finger. "Straight through our patience." The map is snatched, flicked disdainfully, and sent drifting into the sawdust where whiskey spills darken it into unreadable blotches. Another cowboy tips a glass across a waistcoat, amber blooming on fine fabric. One plucks the hat from another tenderfoot's head, tosses it to the floor, and grinds it under his spur. "Eastern silk don't last long out here," he sneers. The young men sit frozen, their knuckles whitening on the table's edge, eyes darting to the bar for help that will not come. No lawman steps in. No gambler lifts a hand. The rules here are unwritten but ironclad. The cowboys own the room until they leave it. Violence is avoided only because it's unnecessary. The fear they sow does the work. I feel my heart pounding as I press back against the bar, watching the humiliation unfold. This small act, this petty terrorizing, is more than cruelty. It is performance, a message to every soul in the room. We can do this because no one dares stop us. And yet, the tension clinging to the air, whispers of something larger building, something soon to explode. As the cowboys swagger out, leaving silence in their wake, I cannot help but see, in this moment, the broader feud already spiraling toward gunfire. For months, the Cochise County Cowboys have clashed with the Earp brothers, Virgil, Morgan, Wyatt, and their ally, Doc Holliday. The lawmen, determined to enforce order in Tombstone, are bound to collide with men who live by lawlessness. Add to this political grudges, Wyatt's bitter loss of the sheriff's post to Johnny Bean, a friend of the Clantons and McClorys, and the new ordinance banning firearms in town, and the tinderbox is complete. Ike Clanton, belligerent and often drunk, has been spitting threats for weeks, daring the Earps to confront him. Everyone knows the spark is coming. Everyone can feel it. Tonight, watching the cowboys mock those eastern boys, I sense how close we all are to the edge. The insult at this table is just a smaller battle in a war of pride, power, and survival. The larger clash, the one history we'll remember, waits only for the right morning. I step outside, lungs eager for cool air. Fremont Street greets me with its chorus of hoofbeats, laughter, and shouts. Across the road, the Birdcage Theater throws its glow into the night, lanterns bleeding red against the boards. The Crystal Palace is refinement, but the Birdcage, this is raw appetite, a place where whiskey flows thicker than water and where reputations can be bought, sold, or buried in the sawdust. The sign out front promises gambling, shows, and entertainment for those who pay the price. I push through its doors into a fog of smoke and sweat. The air is thick, rank with the tobacco, whiskey, and the faint perfume of painted women who lean from curtained bird cages above. Those boxes, the private rooms, hang like gilded cages along the balcony, each its own secret story, each a lure for men who want to taste vice behind velvet. Tables crowd the floor, where gamblers hunch over faro and poker, their faces locked in masks of greed and desperation. The piano stumbles through a tune drowned by laughter, shouting, the groan of chairs dragged back for fights half started and half forgotten. And then, from the stage, a voice cuts through the chaos. The MC, mustached and flamboyant, calling the house to order. Gentlemen and ladies, if any among you remain, prepare your eyes for a marvel of muscle and iron. Tombstone's own phenomenon. The woman with the iron jaw, the female Hercules. A hush spreads, uncanny, in this den of clamor. Onto the stage strides a woman unlike any I have seen. She is not enormous, but she radiates density, as if her frame were carved from compact stone. Her hair is pinned tight, her boots heavy, her jawline sharp as a blade. She bows once, without flourish, then takes her place beside a pulley rig dangling a leather bit. Two men heave a crate onto the stage, iron-banded and heavy enough to make the floorboards groan. She accepts the leather strap between her teeth, clenches, and slowly leans back. The tendons in her neck rise like coiled ropes. Her eyes fix on a point above us, and the crate lifts, inch by inch, impossibly, until it sways half a foot above the boards. The crowd roars, disbelief and awe mingling. She holds for a count of 10, releases, and the crate thuds back to earth. But she is not done. A steel bar with hook and ring is fitted to a water keg. She grips the ring in her teeth and drags, muscles taut, until the keg rolls across the stage like a toy. Then the final feat. A blacksmith offers horseshoes. She bites, pulls, and bends them into twisted crescents, her jaw unyielding, her will absolute. The house explodes in cheers, men leaping to their feet, women leaning from bird cages, gamblers pounding the tables. For one miraculous quarter hour, even in Tombstone, wonder triumphs over violence. As applause dies, dice clatter again, and the birdcage reverts to its true self: gambling, drinking, shouting, sin. Yet the talk at the bar circles back to law and blood. The gun ordinance, Virgil Earp's determination to enforce it, Ike Clanton's threats. They all swirl in the smoky air like storm clouds thickening. I sip whiskey, though it tastes of dust, and step back into Fremont Street. The night is cooler now, stars pricking the darkness. Behind me, the Crystal Palace gleams with polished civility. The birdcage glows with vulgar hunger. Between them runs the street itself, a fuse burning toward the inevitable detonation at the OK Corral. I walk slowly, boots crunching, aware that every face I pass, miner, cowboy, gambler, lawman, carries its own coin-flip fate. Some will live to tell of the gunfight. Some will fall in its less than 1 minute storm of bullets. For now, Tombstone breathes on, alive with ambition and dread. The night air presses heavy as I walk down Fremont Street, the echoes of laughter, shouts, and gunfire weaving together in a chorus both intoxicating and terrifying. My boots crunch over loose gravel as I pass lamplit windows glowing with the promise of drink and escape. The Crystal Palace and birdcage fade behind me, but the heat of what I've just witnessed lingers. The humiliation of newcomers by cowboys, the strength of the female Hercules bending iron with her jaw, the laughter of men masking their fear of tomorrow. Ahead, a new glow beckons. Big Nose Kate's Saloon. The air thickens with pipe smoke drifting into the street, and the sound of piano keys struck too hard, laughter forced too loud, and glasses clinking with too much desperation. Kate's is not the elegance of the Crystal Palace, nor the grand spectacle of the birdcage. It is earthier, darker, the heartbeat of the street where miners and gunmen find equal footing. I step through the batwing doors, the stench of whiskey and sweat engulfing me. The piano bangs out a tune that competes with shouts at the bar. A few women lean against door frames, their painted lips and tired eyes scanning the crowd for men with silver to spend. The ceiling is low, the lamps smoky, the boards beneath my boots sticky with spilled drink and blood that never quite washed away. Big Nose Kate herself is said to have run this place. Doc Holliday's companion. A woman of sharp wit and sharper survival instincts. I imagine her watching from behind the bar, taking in every word and gesture, storing them like bullets for when they're most needed. This saloon, like Kate herself, is both refuge and powder keg. The night detonates without warning. A hand slaps cards onto a table, the sound sharp as a pistol crack. "You're cheating, you son of a—" The words dissolve into thunder. Gunfire erupts, the report deafening inside the wooden walls. Instinct takes me before thought does. I dive behind the bar as bottles shatter, spraying glass and whiskey across the floor. The piano stops mid-chord. Women scream. Men scramble for cover. Smoke fills the air, acrid and thick, each shot carving a hole through the haze. Two men fire across a table overturned for cover, their faces twisted with rage and drink. A bullet whistles past my ear, close enough that I feel its heat. I press flat against the boards, heart hammering, lungs refusing to breathe. Every second stretches long enough to measure a lifetime. A chair crashes, another shot explodes, then silence. Thick, smothering, broken only by groans. I peek over the bar. One man lies face down, his blood spreading in a dark pool that seeps toward the piano. The other stumbles back, clutching his shoulder, cursing through clenched teeth. The room holds still, waiting for more thunder, but it doesn't come. For now, the storm has passed. I sit in the shadow of the bar, trembling, and the truth presses in. Tombstone is not just a boomtown of silver and ambition. It is a tinderbox, each night daring fire to strike. I nearly lost my life tonight for no reason at all. Just a seat at the wrong table, a glance at the wrong moment. What is a man's worth here? A silver dollar? A whiskey glass? A card turned wrong? My mind turns inward, wrestling with questions that echo louder than the gunfire. What is law in a place where every man carries death at his hip? The courthouse rises at one end of Fremont, but inside these walls, justice is decided by speed of draw, not rule of law. I whisper to myself in the smoky dark, if the law does not hold, what holds a town together? Fear? Gold? Or nothing at all? The image of those tenderfeet from earlier rises in my mind. Their polished boots, their Eastern innocence stripped bare by cowboys who mock them without consequence. Is there justice here? Or only survival, purchased with fear and fast hands? The weight of it gnaws at me as I step cautiously out into the night air again, lungs desperate for air that does not smell of smoke and blood. Further down Fremont Street, the glow shifts again. Here the energy falters, the light dimmer, the laughter broken. I pass a cluster of men leaning against a wall, their eyes glazed, mouths slack. A bottle passes from hand to hand. Laudanum, the opiate so common it may as well be another form of currency. One man slumps forward into the dirt, muttering nonsense to a world that no longer hears him. Another stares up at the stars, his lips moving as though speaking to ghosts. Their bodies are here, but their spirits wander elsewhere, trapped between euphoria and ruin. I pause, watching them sway like reeds in a poisoned wind. Laudanum has become the town's other saloon, a place without walls, where pain and despair are drowned until nothing remains. Consumption, mining accidents, broken hearts. This potion offers escape from all of it, even if the price is madness. The sight chills me more than the gun battle. A bullet can kill quick, but this is slower. Souls eroded by tinctures of opium, spirits dulled until nothing is left but shadow. I walk on, though their vacant eyes follow me. The next block brings me to a modest building, the office of the Tombstone Epitaph, the town's newspaper since 1880. Its lamps glow faintly, the scratching of a pen audible within. The sign above the door is plain, yet it carries weight. Here is the place where stories are fixed in ink, where fleeting violence becomes permanent history. The paper is a mirror of the town itself, sometimes reflecting truth, sometimes stoking fire. Headlines here do not just report. They shape opinion, fanning flames between cowboys and lawmen, between order and chaos. I stand in the street, listening to the faint scratching of pen on paper. Perhaps tomorrow, the events of Kate's will be reduced to a few stark lines. Saloon shooting leaves one dead, one wounded. My fear, my trembling, my whispered prayers, all swallowed by ink and pressed between advertisements for mining tools and whiskey. And yet, the epitaph matters. Without it, memory fades. Without it, law cannot argue its case. The courthouse may rise as a monument to order, but the newspaper ensures the town does not forget. In these pages, the coming conflict at the OK Corral will one day be recorded. Not just the shots fired, but the causes, the grudges, the failures of law, and the price of pride. I step back, taking in the modest facade, and I feel the tension of Tombstone woven tight between all I've seen tonight. The polished veneer of the Crystal Palace, the raw hunger of the birdcage, the blood-soaked boards of Kate's, the vacant eyes of the laudanum addicts, the scratching pen of the epitaph. This town is a paradox, a place of silver dreams and deadly nights. And though the law builds its courthouse and the press inks its truths, the shadow of the cowboys and the inevitability of conflict hang heavy over every lantern, every bottle, every heartbeat. I stroll along Allen Street, the town's lifeblood, where everything converges. Homes and shops pressed shoulder to shoulder, offices with freshly painted signs, saloons spilling light into the dirt road. The night is restless. Horses snort and paw the ground. Wagons clatter over ruts, and the air carries the sharp scent of dust, sweat, whiskey, and faint gunpowder residue. Lanterns swing in the breeze, casting shifting shadows across the storefronts. Men in miners' garb shuffle past with black dust ground into their clothes, eyes dulled from long days underground. Merchants call out from doorways, hawking goods hauled across desert and mountain. Women move briskly along the boardwalk, skirts brushing dirt as they clutch baskets filled with provisions. Allen Street hums with life, but the hum carries a discordant note, an undercurrent of danger, always just one heartbeat away. It happens suddenly. A sound, like thunder ripping loose from the heavens, shakes the ground beneath my boots. Heads snap toward the north end of the street. A team of horses, wild-eyed and frothing, bursts free from their hitching post, tearing down Allen Street as if the devil himself lashes at their flanks. The earth trembles beneath their pounding hooves, their nostrils flare, white foam streaking from their mouths. The crowd scatters in panic. Men leap from the boardwalk. Women scream and clutch children. Wagons rattle as bystanders shove them aside in desperate haste. I dive behind one such wagon just as the thunder reaches me. A rush of wind, dust, and raw muscle hurtles past. Too close, far too close. My heart lurches into my throat. A wheel, iron rim catching lantern light, clips a man across the street. There's a sickening crack. He crumples beneath the wagon's weight, his scream cut short. The horses thunder on, vanishing into the haze of dust they've kicked into the air. For a moment, all of Tombstone holds its breath. Then the screaming begins. Blood pools beneath the broken man, glinting red under flickering lanterns. His hat lies crushed beside him, the dirt stained dark. A woman shrieks. Another man curses the chaos of this lawless place. Tombstone, I think, is relentless. Danger waits at every corner, every shadow, every breath. As people crowd around the fallen man, voices rise, sharp and angry. "That was your team, damn you," a miner shouts, jabbing a finger at another man holding loose reins in his hand. "They broke free. I didn't," the accused shouts back, his voice cracking under the weight of the crowd's fury. "You killed him," another bellows, face red with rage. He lunges forward, striking the man squarely across the jaw. The crowd surges like a wave around them, some calling for calm, others egging them on. The two men tumble into the dirt, fists flying, boots kicking up dust that glitters in the lantern light. One grasps for a broken bottle in the street. The other snarls like a cornered animal. The air is thick with sweat, fear, and blood. I press back against the boardwalk, heart hammering. I've seen men fight before, but here, in Tombstone, every fistfight threatens to become a killing. The crowd's shouts blur into a chaotic roar. "Get him! Stop him! Kill him!" The man with the bottle raises it high, glass catching firelight in a deadly gleam. His opponent scrambles beneath him, arms flailing. The bottle tilts, ready to plunge. Then, calm, steady, and terrible in its authority, a voice cuts through the chaos. "That's enough." Wyatt Earp steps from a doorway, revolver drawn but held low, his eyes fixed on the men in the dirt. He doesn't shout. He doesn't need to. His calm gaze carries more weight than the crowd's fury. Beside him, Marshal Virgil Earp appears, his presence unmistakable. Tall, broad-shouldered, his badge glinting in the lantern light. His voice carries the edge of command. "Drop it! Now!" The man freezes, bottle still poised above his victim. His chest heaves, rage warring with fear. For a heartbeat, I think he'll swing anyway. That blood will be spilled under the Earp's eyes. But something in Virgil's stance, in Wyatt's steady revolver, convinces him. Slowly, with a grunt, he lets the bottle fall into the dirt. The crowd exhales as though the town itself had been holding its breath. Wyatt kneels by the fallen man, checking his pulse with quiet efficiency. Virgil orders two bystanders to haul the fighters apart. "Take him to the dock," he commands, gesturing toward the broken man trampled beneath the wagon. His tone allows no refusal. I stand frozen, watching the Earps restore order, not with bluster, but with presence. A presence honed by years of living where law bends under the weight of violence. As the fighters are dragged away, I feel my knees tremble. What if Wyatt and Virgil hadn't appeared? What if the bottle had swung down, the glass slicing into flesh, blood spilling into the dirt to mingle with the wagon victims? This is Tombstone. Life and death walk side by side, and only men like the Earps stand between order and chaos. I think of the courthouse rising on Fremont Street, its frame skeletal but proud. Law must be built brick by brick, hammer by hammer. Yet here, law lives not in wood or stone. It lives in men willing to risk everything to enforce it. And yet, I wonder, how much longer can they hold this line? The cowboys are many, their grudges deep, their guns quick. Tomorrow, perhaps, this same calm authority will be tested in fire. Tomorrow, Tombstone may erupt in violence that no lawman can contain. The night resumes its rhythm, though slower now, shadows heavier. People whisper as they pass, heads turning back toward the spot where the Earps stood. A few men nod in grim respect. Others mutter darkly, resentment simmering at law's intrusion into what some see as personal matters. I walk further down Allen Street, boots crunching softly in the dirt. A gambler leans against a post, cigar glowing in the dark, eyes sharp as a hawk's. Across the way, a woman scolds a boy who nearly collided with me, his wide eyes still reflecting the fear of the stampede. The boy mutters an apology, then scurries away, disappearing into the crowd. The lamps flicker, smoke drifts from saloon chimneys, and the pulse of Tombstone resumes. But for me, the world feels sharper now. The shadows darker, the air heavier, the fragility of life clearer. Tonight, I saw a man trampled, another nearly killed with a bottle, and order restored only because two brothers stepped from the shadows. Law is fragile here, as fragile as a pane of glass in a saloon fight. Without it, chaos reigns. With it, hope survives. Barely. As I walk on, I whisper to myself, this is a town on the edge of history, where every street carries the weight of tomorrow's blood. And in my heart, I know the OK Corral is waiting. Turning down the narrow side street, I feel the pulse of Tombstone shift. Allen Street behind me glows with lantern light and restless noise. But here the air grows heavier, quieter, as though the town itself is holding its breath. The wood-planked boardwalk creaks beneath my boots, and somewhere ahead, the faint whinny of horses cuts through the desert wind. Fly's boarding house squats low and wide on the street corner. Its windows flicker with lamplight, shadows of movement playing across the thin curtains. Here, men of every stripe come and go. Miners with dust still on their boots, drifters looking for a warm bed. And tonight, the cowboys, Billy Clanton, Tom McLaury, and Frank McLaury. I pause at the edge of the doorway, letting my eyes adjust to the smoky light within. The smell hits me first. Whiskey thick on the air, sweat mingling with cheap perfume, and the faint tang of oil from freshly cleaned pistols. The room hums with anticipation, low voices weaving into the creak of floorboards and the occasional bray of laughter. Billy Clanton leans against a wall, hat tilted back, a revolver gleaming at his hip. His face is young, too young, but hardened by a life that's offered little except violence and hunger. He speaks in bursts of bravado, gesturing with his hands, every word carried with the swagger of a man who feels tomorrow's storm already in his bones. Tom McLaury checks the cylinder of his pistol, clicking it shut with care. His jaw is set, eyes sharp beneath the brim of his hat. Frank McLaury stands nearby, quieter but no less menacing, running a cloth down the barrel of his rifle with a kind of reverence. Their preparations are methodical. every bullet checked, every strap tightened. They are men bred by hard soil and harder times, products of Tombstone's harsh crucible, silver disputes, cattle theft, and the absence of law's steady hand. But it is not just their weapons they tend tonight. Two women, their dresses threadbare, yet cut low enough to draw attention, linger near the cowboys. One, dark hair pinned loosely at her neck, sits on Billy's knee, laughing too loudly at his crude jokes. Her eyes dart to the pocket of silver coins he produces, the faint smile on her lips betraying need more than joy. Another, red-haired and tired-looking, lets Tom pour whiskey into her glass. She leans close as he whispers something in her ear, her smile thin, calculated. I watch in silence. This is commerce as much as any mining claim or silver shipment. Flesh and comfort traded for coins and the promise of a night's escape. In this boarding house, morality is as fleeting as a desert stream, vanishing under the weight of survival. Billy shouts suddenly, slamming his hand on the table. Tomorrow, the Earps won't dare lay a hand on us. His bravado fills the room, echoed by nervous laughter from the women. But beneath his grin I see it, the fear. He is a boy pretending at invincibility, tomorrow's violence already whispering in his ear. The night air tastes cooler as I step back into the street. The building groans with noise behind me, but outside, the sound of horses dominates. The livery stables loom just beyond, their roofs sagging under years of dust and rain, the scent of manure thick in the night. Inside, lanterns swing from hooks, casting long shadows across rows of restless animals. Horses stamp and snort, their hooves grinding deep furrows into the dirt floor. Saddles hang from pegs, stirrups gleaming faintly. The cowboys' mounts are here, sleek, strong, bred for distance and speed. They paw the ground as if sensing what tomorrow will demand of them. The stable boys move nervously about, avoiding the cowboys' eyes as they adjust straps and tighten cinches. No one dares speak too loudly. Even the animals seem restless, their ears twitching, their eyes rolling white in the lantern light. I linger in the doorway, watching shadows flicker against the walls. Every creak of wood sounds like a trigger cocking. Every step echoes with menace. It strikes me how the cowboys are more than just individuals. They are a symptom of Tombstone's sickness. Silver wealth has transformed this patch of desert into a city overnight, but law has lagged behind. Opportunity brings men chasing fortunes, but also men who take by force what others earn. Cattle rustling, stagecoach robberies, smuggling, all part of their trade. I think back to the robbery I witnessed on the road here, the way bandits melted into the desert with the strongbox and mailbags. The cowboys thrive in that chaos. They are the desert wolves of Cochise County, untamed, predatory, and unwilling to bow to order. And yet, I cannot entirely condemn them without reflection. Poverty, broken systems, and a hunger for survival have shaped them as much as choice. In a land where miners die in shaft collapses and disease cuts men down without mercy, where law is still a skeleton framed in scaffolding, is it surprising that some choose the gun? Still, tomorrow they will face the Earps. Tomorrow, bravado and lawlessness will collide with the cold steel of lawmen sworn to uphold order, and Tombstone will pay the price. I step back into the open, where the town hums with its midnight restlessness. A fiddle scrapes from a saloon down the street, punctuated by drunken laughter. Somewhere, a woman shouts, followed by the crash of a bottle. Dogs bark in the distance. The cowboys remain in the boarding house, drinking, boasting, holding their women close. Across town, the Earps prepare in their own way, quietly, with the grim determination of men who know tomorrow may claim them. The streets between them thrum with anticipation, every shadow heavy with the sense that history waits just beyond the dawn. I walk slowly past the stables once more. A horse rears suddenly, slamming its hooves into the stall gate. The sound cracks the night like gunfire, startling me back a step. My pulse races. Here, even the animals echo the violence pressing down on Tombstone. As I move away from Fly's boarding house, I glance back at its lantern-lit windows. Inside, the cowboys laugh, drink, and pull women close. Yet tomorrow, blood will stain the dirt outside the OK Corral. Their laughter will be silenced, their swagger broken by bullets. The irony is heavy. Tonight they live as though untouchable, while tomorrow history will carve their names into the annals of the West as outlaws cut down in a blaze of smoke and lead. The livery stable creaks in the breeze, its shadows stretching long across the dirt road. Horses shift uneasily, as though they, too, feel the weight of dawn's coming reckoning. I walk on, boots striking dust, my thoughts heavy. Tombstone is a tinderbox, and I have just walked through the sparks. The streets thin as I move westward. The laughter of Allen Street fades behind me, swallowed by the hush of Fremont Street, where the air feels taut, stretched like a rope about to snap. My boots crunch against the packed earth, and lanterns flicker weakly against the encroaching dark. Tombstone, so alive with music and dust only a block away, seems here to grow quiet, as if even the town holds its breath for what is coming. Ahead, the OK Corral emerges, not a grand structure, but a vacant lot tucked between buildings and fences, its weathered gate hanging crookedly on iron hinges. Wagons are parked haphazardly, their wheels leaning like tired bones, and the smell of horses, leather, and manure lingers thick in the night. A livery stable stretches alongside, its shadow long across the dirt. It is here, listeners, that history will flare like gunpowder, 30 seconds of chaos that will echo through centuries. I stop at the threshold, letting my gaze sweep across the narrow alley. In daylight, it would seem unremarkable, just a space between wood and dust. But tonight, in the weight of anticipation, it feels like a stage waiting for its actors. Here, in 1881, Tombstone stands at a crossroads. Law, such as it is, strains to root itself in the hard soil. The courthouse rises unfinished down the street, the symbol of what could be. But here, the cowboys have gathered, thumbing their noses at city ordinances and daring the law to disarm them. The feud has festered for months. The Earps, Virgil, Morgan, and Wyatt, martial law with iron in their eyes, backed by their friend Doc Holliday. Opposite them, the cowboys, Billy Clanton, Tom and Frank McClory, Ike Clanton, and their allies, live by another code. one of open range, cattle rustling and smuggling across the border. Both sides claim justice. Both sides nurse grudges. Politics fan the flames. Wyatt's ambition for sheriff blocked by Johnny Bean, who leans toward the cowboys' favor. Ordinances banning firearms within Tombstone only raise the stakes. And at the heart of it all, belligerence. Ike Clanton, drunk on bravado and whiskey, shouting threats against the Earps, vowing that tomorrow will spill blood. The corral is silent tonight, but I can almost hear the whispers of what will come. It is morning now. The air hangs with a brittle chill. The cowboys stand near their saddled horses, rifles tucked in scabbards, revolvers resting heavy on their hips. Billy Clanton's eyes flash with youthful defiance. Frank McLaury shifts restlessly, hand grazing the butt of his revolver. Tom McLaury stands close to the horses, uncertain but resolved. Virgil, Morgan, and Wyatt Earp approach, flanked by Doc Holliday with his coat drawn tight. They walk steady, every step echoing resolve, though Virgil has said he does not seek a fight. Only disarmament, only enforcement of the ordinance. "Throw up your hands. I want your guns," Virgil commands. His voice cuts across the dusty lot. For a breath, time holds still. Then metal flashes. Frank McLaury and Billy Clanton draw, the hammer of their six-shooters clicking back. Smoke erupts, curling thick in the morning light as gunpowder ignites. The first shots ring out, Billy firing at Wyatt and missing, Wyatt's bullet tearing into Frank's gut. Two cracks almost indistinguishable, thunder in a narrow alley. Chaos follows. Horses rear, screaming, dirt exploding under hooves. Tom McLaury scrambles behind a horse, hand reaching, the animal jolting aside. Doc Holliday steps forward, coach gun flaring, the blast tearing into Tom's chest. Tom staggers, stumbles across Fremont Street, and collapses at the base of a telegraph pole, breath leaving him in crimson gasps. Billy fights on, his wrist shattered by Morgan's shot, blood streaming as he shifts the revolver to his left hand. He fires wildly, every squeeze of the trigger a testament to stubborn courage and futility. Bullets cut the air, punching into wood and flesh alike. Frank reels across the street, struggling with his horse, revolver blazing, even as his gut bleeds. He trades shots with Doc, one grazing Holliday's hip. "That son of a bitch has shot me," Doc snarls, drawing his nickel-plated revolver and returning fire. Frank stumbles, fires again, then collapses in the dirt, a final shot cutting short his breath. Virgil takes a bullet through the calf. Morgan falls, struck across the back, only to claw himself up and keep firing. Wyatt stands unscathed, firing cool and deliberate, his shot steady as if he were born for this exact moment. Ike Clanton runs, boasting threats for months, but fleeing when the smoke rises, slipping into Fly's boarding house and out into the alleys of Tombstone. Others scatter too, leaving the dead and dying to mark the ground with their blood. 30 shots, 30 seconds. 3 cowboys dead. Tom, Frank, and Billy. The Earps bloodied but standing, and history forever altered. The vision fades, and I am once again in the quiet of the night before. The corral is empty, but the echoes remain, hovering like specters above the dirt. I place a hand on the rough wooden fence. It is still, ordinary, yet charged with what it will witness. Tomorrow this ground will drink blood. Tomorrow this lot will become a symbol, of law struggling to assert itself, of violence answering violence, of the price America paid to tame its frontier. I step back slowly, letting the corral slip into shadow. My thoughts churn heavy. Tombstone is no mere mining town. It is the mirror of America itself in 1881, prosperous yet volatile, ambitious yet lawless, caught between the promise of order and the reality of violence. The courthouse rises with hope, but the corral stands with truth. Law must be proven in smoke and steel before it can be trusted. I think of Billy Clanton, scarcely more than a boy, bleeding in the dust. Of Frank McClory, skilled and proud, cut down in the street. Of Tom McClory, stumbling toward death against a telegraph pole. And I think of the Earps, carrying law on their shoulders like a burden too heavy for any man. Tomorrow will crown them legends, but legends carved in grief and loss. For America, this fight becomes myth. Newspapers will carry it across the states, turning 30 seconds into eternal story. Writers will call it justice or slaughter, depending on the ink they spill. And for generations to come, the OK Corral will be less a place and more a symbol of the wildness of the frontier, of law's tenuous grip, of men forced to decide the meaning of order with a pistol in their hand. The night is cool now, stars glinting sharp above the desert sky. I take one last look at the vacant lot, already heavy with tomorrow's history. Rest easy, friends. The rabbit hole of time holds many more slow steps. Until we meet again, Silas is signing off.